When it comes to site, we want to get the most out of our machines. What is really the best tool for the job? Is it your excavator with pallet forks? Or is it the telehandler? Or is it your forklift? We're going to discuss today what is the best for you in terms of versatility and accessibility when on site. So let's start off with the excavator fitted with pallet forks. Now, pretty much a foregone conclusion that on site there will be a 14-ton machine that is there performing its necessary tasks, but can be utilised with a set of pallet forks. Whether it comes to offloading materials from a truck, moving around palletised materials, it really gives you that extra dimension of flexibility, especially on a narrow or restricted access site, to move materials around to those difficult locations. Their versatility when on site really gives you a fluid access to a tool that essentially becomes a multi-tool, especially when ground is uneven or, as we've already said, restricted. It really adds an extra dynamic to your site, giving you the full versatility and usability of that machine. And potentially, you may not even need to add a telehandler to site. But as we know, sites progress and excavators can't lift to height. So that is really when telehandlers come into their own. They're designed for lifting, they're designed for rough terrain, and they can get places that certain machines can't with their telescopic arm, and to heights that other machines can't, such as lifting palletised material, such as tiles or roof materials, up to height when the site gets to that position. If you have a site that is particularly restricted on access, that is really when the forklifts come into their own. They're small, they're narrow, they can lift decent weight, they can handle the boggy and rough terrain, and really give you the flexibility to get in places that excavators and telehandlers can't. So when it comes to lift capacities, take the excavator for instance, this will have a reduced lifting capacity depending on the size of excavator, but for a 5 to 9 ton lift capacity excavator pallet forks is generally maxed out at 1,250 kilos. And for the 12 to 25 ton multi-pin pickup version that Rhinox do, it is 2,500 kilos. Smaller excavators are limited in terms of their lift capacity, so may not be an ideal machine for you to utilise for lifting on site. This would be referencing machines below 5 ton. Now I would suggest that you check the Lolas on their lift capacity to see whether they are certed to lift, and check with your hire company if that's what you've hired the machines from, but they are generally suited to lighter loads around site. Telehandlers and forklifts are designed for lifting heavier and bulkier materials. Obviously, depending on the make and model of the machine, I'd advise you to check this before going ahead, and they are suited for moving materials around uneven and rough terrain sites. So coming down to manoeuvrability here, this really depends on the size of the machine that you have on site and whether it's a zero tail or not, but this gives you the extra flexibility on site when moving materials in a 360 degree around different obstacles or even across a building site. Of course, operating an excavator with pallet forks does require a lot of skill and a lot of precision and a deep regard for safety for everyone else on site. It can take a little while to get used to handling the excavator pallet forks on an excavator, but a skilled operator will pick it up very quickly. And with the Rhinox pallet forks, with floating forks, this makes the job a whole lot easier, giving you the flexibility to manoeuvre the machine and pick up those pallets with ease and without the worry of bending a fork. So then what about the manoeuvrability of the telehandlers and forklifts? Forklifts are typically much more manoeuvrable on site. They have a smaller turning radius. They can fit down those narrow aisles in between material or equipment and nip in and grab the materials quickly with ease. Telehandlers are obviously bulkier, but still an excellent turning radius and are perfectly suited for the larger sites. So in conclusion, the choice between excavator pallet forks or a telehandler or an agricultural forklift really depends on the site, the operator, and the requirements of you as a company. Each individual machine has its own unique versatilities. Excavator pallet forks obviously give you that excellent versatility when there's a tight access to a site or even limited access in and around the site. Telehandlers come into their own on larger sites where there is a need for materials at a higher elevation or across spaces of ground that are inaccessible for other machines. Telescopic boom really enables this machine to come into its own. And then down to the forklifts, perfect for that tight access site. Forklifts really come into their own when there is a restricted access site or a site with narrow passageways that really need a small machine to manoeuvre about, grabbing the materials and transporting them around site efficiently. So if you want to know more about the fixed or floating pallet forks, check out our video here and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single upload from Rhinox. Obviously the lift pallet are designed don't know. Forklifts are different, and so if you want to know more about the what the heck?